All right. Welcome to a family podcast. I'm PT Bowie, and this is Brad and Andrea Bowie with me as well.
You're like late night with PT. That's how you sound.
I do kind of like that lower seductive voice, but no. Welcome.
It's a family biz
Exactly.
podcast, by the way.
Andrea is going to run this podcast, and
run it?
And she's got the keys to the car here, so take it away.
And her cell phone. Watch out.
All right, gentlemen. This is something I've been pondering. I don't know a lot today, and I feel like I just want to talk about it. Loyalty.
Okay.
What does loyalty mean to you? And do you think when you're a super loyal person, how does that affect you personally and professionally? And maybe does it move you forward or hold you back?
Well, how it affects you, I think the first thing that comes to my mind is loyal to a fault, right? Loyalty to me is being there for someone no matter what, and putting your all into them and giving them all that they give you. So I guess that's just what comes to my mind first.
Mine would be longevity, and to kind of piggyback what you were just talking about, just always being there, and volunteering to help, and the biggest thing is being a part of the team.
So here's what I agree with both of you, and I'm gonna save what's on my phone.
Wrong answer, she said.
No, I agree with both of you, and I think you both touched on things that I think are what loyalty means and what it means to be loyal. But I think what I'm struggling with and what I was thinking about is that these are just, we're going to solve all these problems and scenarios here on this podcast, is that especially when it comes to business, and I'm even going to say personally, like, does PT, you hit the nail on the head, being loyal to a fault, does that hold you back? If you look at it from, I can think back, both personally and professionally, situations that I was in that because I'm a very loyal person, that I wasn't loyal to myself as much as I was the other person or the company. And I'm just, kind of thinking back and, kind of just want to roundtable this a little bit of maybe helping other people not make some of those same mistakes that, let's just use business as an example. We use business as an example to start off. I look back at, obviously I love where we are now, and we have a successful business that we've built. PT's, part of that group, and we have other team members now, and we're just killing it. And I'm very thrilled with that. But then I look back and think about the loyalty that we had to our previous brokerage for numerous reasons, and how that probably set us back 4 to 5 years. And if I'm going to get, and I'm not going to get emotional right now, but if I think about it too, it's something that you and I knew we were being loyal to that company, but we weren't really being too loyal to ourselves and to our business and really to our clients at the end of the day, because we deserved more in our business and our clients deserved better options in what we were providing for them, and where we were at, we just weren't able to do that. I think that really became clear when you came on board, PT, because I think that it was pretty clear to you and I internally pretty quickly that although we thought we were doing the best that we could in our business and we were in the best position we were, that we were not setting him up for success either in the way that the industry had changed and the way that things were moving in a different direction, and we were somewhere where we were being loyal to that company and that business, but we were not being loyal to our true path of success. Is that what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
You guys, Jake's
That was,
by a couple.
Yeah.
But I think that's something too that for me it's so new too, because it's different that I'm a newer agent, younger in this industry. But I think it's a very common trait of a younger agent is to be that person. And so you're talking about loyalty to a brokerage or to something probably bigger than what a lot of newer agents struggle with is the client, right? And being able to say no. And that's something that I've personally struggled with quite a bit is just understanding, one, that yes, you do have to put the time in, you do have to work very hard in this business to be successful, but also it's important for the people, friends, family, because that's also, we talk about this a lot too, is relationship based. So for me personally, it's the struggle that I've been trying to work through is where do I kind of draw the line in the sand, and all you ever hear is how great the feeling is when you kind of make that first no, because
We remember that, don't we, Brad?
right, and so and you'll be able to touch on that.
Dang,
but-
locked screen door. Boy, oh boy, I bet you she wished she hadn't complained about it. Go on, PT. Sorry.
No, but it's the thing that I think I probably share with quite a bit of people, not only in the real estate industry, but in general. You're trying to make a name for yourself. You know that you have to work hard, but where do you draw the line in the sand? And so I guess too with loyalty regarding that, you have to kind of be loyal to yourself in that aspect. And so,
Right.
yeah, very interesting.
Yeah. Well, and the interesting thing is, I just want to clarify this too, because for people that may not know you that are listening to this, PT, and you just said make a name for yourself, you're probably one of the most humble, genuine people ever. So when you say make a name for yourself, I know what you mean is for people to know that you sell real estate and that you're successful, not necessarily that you're looking to be famous. Like, so just to clarify that, right?
Right, and I understand that the spot that I'm in right now is no one else gets this opportunity that I have, and so it's important for me to not only understand that and respect it, but also you're not just going to be able to walk into this industry and just live off of what the past 3 generations did. I talk about it all the time too. Is you have to evolve. You have to. Yes, the Bowie name is known in our real estate market industry, but PT is not, right? So you have to, well, price is, but not PT. But,
Unless you need PT.
Exactly.
Like little physical therapy there? No, I'm just kidding.
I think you could almost argue when you're younger that it's almost harder. That a lot of people really think that you're all totally taken care of, that you don't have any worries, and that was what I struggled with for a lot of years. And then it was one of those that over time, once you proved yourself, they didn't care whether you were taken care of or whether you weren't. They knew that you were a really good real estate agent. And that's where you're at now, is you're at the point where you've developed and you have gotten good at your craft. And now you're starting to see those fruits that, you've done all this hard work. And now a lot of people are recognizing that you're not my nephew. You're not Price Bowie's grandkid. You're PT Bowie and you're a good realtor. So it takes a little while, though, for anybody in the industry to get to that point where you're just getting repeat business and referrals.
Well, and to be honest, this is interesting because there's 2 things. I'm sorry if you can hear that background.
That's our black lab, Ivy May, who Ivy, she likes to know what's going on.
Yeah, we forgot to shut the door to the room we're doing this in, and she's coming to visit us right now. And
She does not want to leave either.
She's very loyal to us as well. She is not loyal to PT right now, trying to get her out of the room.
I wish we had the camera on.
It's okay.
May. Okay, well, anyway, well, we digress here. Well, so what I was going to say is that I honestly think so. 2 different things came to mind when you 2 were talking. Number one, PT, I think that the reason why you're, and hopefully this is something as a takeaway for people, is that I think the reason why you are really, especially this last 18 to 24 months, settled in your business and you started to grow and just really kill it is because you stopped trying to be loyal to Brad and I, and you decided to be loyal to yourself and your business. And I don't mean that in like you're like desperate. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that in the beginning there was that struggle for you in regards to the same struggle you had with your dad. And I'm going to get to that in a minute. They're kind of my mentors. They're, the 3rd generation. Like, I don't want to overstep what I want to do and my goals, right? But in order for you to really truly be true to yourself and genuine yourself, because regardless of the fact that you're a 4th generation in the Bowie family, right? And that it's a good thing to learn from all the generations before you. You still are going to have your own way of doing your things. And that's what's going to make you successful and help you grow things to the next level. And for you, Brad, what came to mind is that, when we talk about loyalty, this different kind of loyalty, but when you said, younger, it's hard. Well, when you were younger and you got in the business, and I've heard the story, I wasn't really around at the time, but your dad, was loyal to you in the sense that he didn't just hand you business, right? I think that's something that a lot of people just think is the way it works. And same with you, PT. We didn't just hand PT business. He had to earn it. And your dad was the same way. When, your friends would call in, you ran the brokerage we used to work at, and they'd say, hey, I need a realtor. And you were like, what?
He didn't advise you me.
Yeah.
It's a way of being loyal to you, right? Because he knew he wanted, I think, so it's kind of crazy how it circles all the way back, right? When you think about loyalty, is like, there's all these different things. I mean, he was being loyal to what he wanted for your success by not giving in to just handing you something. And I think that, it's kind of like almost like a separation, but not a separation. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I think too, what was a struggle for a while was I knew business wasn't going to be handed to me, but I knew that they would always be there if I needed a question, and I didn't know how to really handle that. Right. So it got to the point where I would, like, everything I did, I wanted it to be reassured that I was doing it correctly, because I didn't want to mess up or, make anybody make a mistake. And I think within the last 24 to 18 months is I just learned, and this is from our guy Chaz up in Canada. He said, the biggest thing, you hear the statement, ready, aim, fire. Well, he's like, well, you should be doing ready, fire, aim. So just do it. And the biggest thing for me is just learning from my mistakes. That's the only way you're going to learn. You got to just go head into it and just trust that you've been taught and that you have the skills to succeed and represent your clients well. And that boded really well for me over the last year or two. So it was something that I think kind of blindsided me, because I think I was focused on, I don't want them to give me everything. I don't want them to do this. But it was more of the crutch that I was holding on to. And yeah.
Well, and, Brad, I'm sure is going to have something to say about this, and I think we've shared a little bit of this with you, PT, but I think it also was some of those tough conversations that needed to happen. There's probably, so here we go again. It's the other side of the loyal side of it, because you were, our nephew, but obviously, you're Brad's nephew by blood, no matter whether we would have got married or not. It was very hard for Brad. I mean, I was having some of those tough conversations with Brad, being like, okay, I know he has it in him. Like, why is he not doing this and this? Like, come on, I just want to. And you would be like, I just can't have that conversation. I'm like, I'll have the conversation. I think I did, didn't I?
Well,
a couple of times.
But that's the only way that you can
grow,
move forward and learn, and that's something that I've understood, is that, the biggest thing is you have to push forward and trust in yourself, because you're the one providing value. That's like the biggest thing in our industry, is what value do you have to provide? And if you're always asking someone else for their value and their opinion on things, then what are we doing?
Then you're not really learning, right?
Correct.
I mean, like you said, I mean, that was a great point, was a crutch. I mean, that's what we do when we're new to stuff. And, I always make sports analogies, which I always have to do that. So when you look at the greatest basketball players of our lifetime,
BJ Armstrong,
not BJ Armstrong.
He was cute though.
When you look at,
I was loyal to the Hawkeyes when BJ played.
Oh boy.
When you look at Michael Jordan.
I was loyal to the Bulls too when Michael Jordan played.
When you look at Kobe Bryant, when you look at LeBron James, all these are extremely gifted athletes, obviously, but they also work as hard or harder than anybody does. And what I mean by work is the practice part of it, right? Like, there's stories about Jordan and there's stories about Kobe where they would be in the gym way after everybody else was, that they wanted to make sure that when they lost that game that they weren't going to do that same deal again. They were like going to go in there, they were like going to practice that shot again. And we all know that in real estate, like sports, there's a lot of failure, but it's the wins that you remember. And the more that you practice, you're still going to have failures. but you're going to win a lot more too. And you've realized that. And that's all part of this whole process. And we all wish that we would be able to jump into anything and really be the superstar, right?
That's what I was going to say. I mean,
but all those guys started at a certain spot. They were not the best players in their generations right away. It took time.
Well, and that's what I was just going to say, though. The other thing is and you and I had several of these conversations, Brad, is that you also, yes, you interned with us, which was, I mean, you know, it's kind of like what I went through really when I had a sales and marketing background, but I didn't have any real estate knowledge. So, I mean, I married you and, you know, I started working with you, but I'd go on all the appointments with you, but I didn't really start doing my own
There was
stuff.
actually a time when she would go there and she wouldn't say a whole lot, that she didn't want to say the wrong thing.
Right.
And she was just like anybody else.
Exactly. Yeah. The funniest thing is when we would.
I think he's making fun of me right now.
No, it's true.
Because you said I didn't talk. That's what you're trying to say, is that I was
You were
quiet.
real quiet. Yeah.
But here's my perspective of it too. So when I would basically just drive around with Brad all day, and we would go to listing appointments, and you know you sit there with your hands in there, you smile, and you kind of like you're looking at your watch because you know it's a long process, right? A listing appointments,
Especially
long process.
Brad, he talks a lot.
But that's important to like realize though too, and you don't realize it in the moment. But the key piece is there that it's not laid out and spelled out for you, but you know, you kind of get the gist of things. But also the thing that Brad kind of tried to incorporate with me was the social media. And so like at points, like you kind of get a cadence and rhythm of when I would be included in the conversation, the listing presentation.
And he was always my social media guy when we went on listing appointments.
Right. And so
It's always his marketing.
and then he would flip over to the social media page. All right, PT, here, talk about the social media. And I would be like, kind of have to snap out of it. And then we're on TikTok, we're on Facebook.
Do the rest.
My favorite is PT. So I had similar experiences, right? Except for mine was marketing, right? Because
Sure.
Brad would always, can you say it? Say it the way you say it, Brad.
What's that?
What am I?
Marketing.
But he would literally
Marketing
do that.
director.
Every once in a while when we, you know, I mean, we're a husband and wife. So yes, we work together, and when we used to go on listing appointments together all the time, and we made me having a moment right before we walked in the door. So we were a little off that day, I felt anyway. And he would try to do the marketing himself. And I would just sit there and stare at him. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Because he knew, but
Sure.
he didn't know, right? But the point of the story is what I was going to say is that in one of the things we struggled with too is when you were done interning and decided you want to do this and you were in the business, you know, we realized the first year or so that you were in this full time, it was not normal. Like, you know, I don't know, you were probably, kindergarten when I would have joined you in the bit. Well, how old would you have been in 2007, 8, 9?
I mean, if we really think about it, the only thing I ever knew was Hungry Hobo. And if you don't know what Hungry Hobo is, it's a sandwich shop here in our area that my father owns. And so that was my life, right? That's what we knew was going to Hungry Hobo. Would eat there 4 or 5 times a week.
Brad still does.
And so do I. It's fantastic. But I didn't know real estate, right? You didn't know about it. You knew that, you know, it was in the family. But I didn't really know much about it to kind of touch on that point.
But how old would you have been at 2007, 8, 9?
7, right? Because you
would have been 7?
A year older
You're
than
born
would have been
99.
Yeah, so 8, 9.
Okay, so what I was going to say is that
99. I was a senior in college. Well, actually, I would have been a junior in college when you.
in a party like it's 1999. What I was going to say though is that for us, those were going. There just wasn't the business wasn't like it was, right? You weren't really going on appointments because, of COVID, and you were doing more Zooms, and it was just really figuring out the way to do business. So it was not abnormal for us to not be working I say this and people might think I'm kidding, but 14, 15-hour day. And that's what it used to be. I mean, when we first got, and so you weren't, like I said, Brad, I go, he's not, it's like, not that you thought it would be easy, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, he knows where we are now in our business, and he only sees, our current work schedule, which is number 1, messed up because of COVID. And number 2, we're just at a different point in our business. Whereas literally, it'd be 10 o'clock at night before we would stop working.
Yeah, there was a lot of that when we were trying to do everything. I mean, just really the two of us. I remember the first year that we sold $18 million, which was a lot back in 2000. Was it 12 or 13?
Probably 12.
Yeah. That's a lot. And that's when,
especially in Iowa.
Yeah, that's
Illinois.
when we realized that, hey, we probably need a little bit of help here, that we were literally going to bed, at 10 and we quit working at 9. I mean, it was one of those where the days were long. And then the next year, if you remember correctly, we went down, that we were just so
it's
burnt out
2015,
from the year before. So we've learned. I mean, you live and you learn, right? So that's when we decided to hire an assistant to handle all the stuff we didn't really like to do. And we
really
did
didn't
the
have
stuff,
time to do.
and we didn't have time to do. Well, I don't like to do paperwork. I mean, you might, I don't.
I don't know that I like it, but
Well, you like.
there's a little satisfaction when it's right?
No,
because I typically don't get it right anyways. So it's like,
It's are related. It's the craziest thing. You're both visual. You're, whatever.
But you have to know your strengths and your weaknesses, and part of it is like if you go down to the basement and you look at my report cards from elementary school, it's really funny how a lot of those comments mostly were really good. I did not get many S's. When I got an S, which those of you that are too young, that means
Sexy? Does that mean sexy?
satisfactory.
I have no idea.
My dad
We didn't have S's either.
pretty much told me when I was at an airport and there was a gentleman cleaning out an ashtray.
Here we
There's
go.
anything wrong with cleaning out ashtrays, that the world needs all kinds of jobs.
Well, you can't smoke in airports, so you'd be out of a job.
Yeah, he'd be out of a job now. But he said, Brad, look over there. And he was cleaning out an ashtray, this gentleman was.
This is so Papa.
He said that guy got an S on his report card. And you know what? I never forgot it.
Yeah.
I never forgot that moment. And then all of a sudden, I became a really good student, just over little life lessons like that.
But going back to what you were just saying, so the moral that I'm hearing in that, if we're taking this back to the loyalty that we started this podcast with, or this discussion with, is really in making the decision to hire an assistant, we were being loyal to our business and to our clients. Because I think that's the other thing that people don't understand is when you. Everybody wants to be able to do everything, right? They want, I can do it. I can handle
I never wanted to do paperwork, but go ahead.
But my point is that recognizing that isn't something you're good at, and recognizing that you're not able to dedicate the time to, whether it's your client or that, conversation or whatever you need to do with, a buyer and the homes that they need to view, or all, whatever, or your family, bringing back to what you said is, so it makes sense to hire somebody to do those things if you can't do them, don't have time to do them, or don't want to do them.
Yeah.
And you should hire people that are good at what you do, and you have something to say, but then I'm going to share what my phone says about loyalty. But
Yeah, and I think we're at the perfect time of the year to kind of reflect on this too, right? I mean, we're starting a new calendar year, 2025, and where does your loyalty lay? That should be a question that you should be asking yourself. Is it to my family? Is it to my business? Is it to my potential team leader? Like where does it lay? Why am I doing this? And that will help you kind of guide you to what you need to do to improve and grow.
yeah, well, so here's what AI says about loyalty. It says loyalty is a complex concept that can be defined as a commitment to support, believe in, or buy from a person or brand. It can also be characterized as a strong feeling of allegiance, support, or devotion, a practical disposition to persist in an associational attachment, remaining constant in preferences over time despite situations, influences, and potential alternatives. And I think what I would echo to what you just said, PT, is I think that from a professional standpoint especially, and I think that, and this is something that we'll get into in another episode, but if you are feeling inside in turmoil in regards to where you're at, and if you're still with an organization or a company, whether you're in real estate or whatever business that you're in, but it's making you feel like you're not achieving your goals or you're not going where you want to go, you have to be true to yourself. At the end of the day, we only have one life to live. God gave you the gifts and talents and the strengths that he gave you to be the best, not to quote the Matthew Kelly, but best version of yourself that you can be. And if you're at a business or a corporation or doing something or working for someone that isn't giving you that fulfillment and you're just doing that because you have a loyalty to them, but it's not being reciprocated and making you a better person, it's time to cut the tie, move on.
100%. And yeah, and it's not just in your job.
No, that's what I'm saying.
It's in your personal life, everything else. To steal Matthew Kelly's line again, but to be the best version of yourself.
Are you going to talk like, how does he talk? What is it, British?
No, he's Australian.
Australian.
Or New Zealand.
I can't do voices.
But you want to surround yourself with good people, right? I mean, you really do. Loyal people. And for us three, I know we're strong believers in God. And that's where it all starts for me. And if you're not a God person, whoever your spiritual person is, you have to have that part of it, or life is really, really tough. Yeah. And it's hard to be loyal when you're not loyal to anything else yourself. So, I mean, a lot of that's self-reflection too.
Oh, for sure. And I was going to say too, in regards to, and I think, PT, we've been through a couple relationships with you since, you've been an adult, or a what, high schooler to an adult? I don't know.
Young adult.
We'll call it young adult. But I think that's another thing is that, and I can say this for myself because I look back on relationships that I was in, that I was more worried about my loyalty to that person again than my own self and what I needed and seeing maybe what God's plan for me was. And you can't find your perfect match, just like you can't find your perfect career path or business, what you're supposed to do in life if you're in the wrong situation, right? So you just gotta be strong enough in that trust, right? God's loyal to you. He's going to show you the path. You have to listen.
And there's always a lot of signs. Always a lot of signs.
Saw the sun and it opened up my eyes. No Ace of Base fans in here?
No.
Were you even born when Ace of Base was out?
No. No. But it's I think that the takeaway of this episode for me specifically is why am I doing this, right? I mean, where does this go for me? Why do I wake up in the morning? Who's involved in that picture, right? So there's a lot of self-reflection. And I go back to this again. I'll say it again. It's a perfect time of year to do that because we all know that everyone wants to run a good business, have a good family, and be happy. It starts there. Mm-hmm. It starts with looking at yourself and figuring out, where does my loyalty lie? Why am I doing this? Who's on this path with me? Who's in my room? Because that's something I am huge on too, is that I've got great people in this room with me right now. I have great people outside this room with me right now that I can call at any minute and they'll pick up. Shout out Mason, shout out Ty, shout out Dusty. But all those people, you got to find those people in your life to support you, to keep you up, and that you can be loyal to.
100%. There's no question about it. If you don't have a good team around you, it makes life a lot tougher, and especially business a lot tougher too. That it's not always going to be horseshoes and rainbows, right? But the more that you have,
I don't know what the saying is, but okay. Sure, we'll go with that.
But the more that you have those positive people around you, the easier that it is to stay on the right path and to continue to be positive. That there are a lot of times, like I always tell people, a lot of newer agents, this is not an easy business. I mean, there's going to be some days where you're just pulling your hair out, where you might lose a couple deals, but then a week later, you might get 2 to 3 in one day. I mean, you never know. There's a lot of ups and downs, but as long as you have the right people around you, that's
and that takes me back before. So when I was just getting in the business, or I'm sorry, I wasn't. I think we were dating. We weren't even engaged yet, and I was still in my previous career. I mean, I still chuckle and I laugh about this because I can remember you calling me like early in the day, right? And some deal from the night before was about to blow up, or something was happening with this or that, and I'd be like, it's fine, it'll all work itself out, and then by the end of the day, he'd call me back. Oh well, this one's still closing, and that one.
It always works out. Always.
One way or the other, and if it doesn't work out, on that deal, that probably means that it
Wasn't
wasn't meant to be.
Well, and that's life and life as well, right?
100%.
Right? I mean, relationships.
When one door closes, another one opens.
You know, like I mean, obviously, you and I wouldn't have met if I, would have still been with the person that I was with, or if I hadn't taken a chance with my very good friend that I was with that I went to this family. But in addition to that, I wouldn't be in real estate if I didn't, I mean, we took a big old leap to make that decision. But also just personal, like you have to have people that surround you, that hold you that surround you, that hold you accountable to help you get to where you want to go. Yeah, like 100%. It's like that person that, if you walk out and you have on that new pair of jeans, you want that friend that says, oh no, your butt looks fat in them. Right? Like you don't want the friend, PT, do you not have those friends?
Guys don't really talk like that.
Yeah.
We don't really.
Yours is just your hair?
It's different. No, it's more.
They might say like, what are you wearing? Like, what's that shirt? They're not really looking at,
You guys don't tell each other
the way that your jeans look.
Not really.
Not really. Well, unless it's just really bad. Like, well, what are you wearing?
Yeah,
like you mean if you were wearing
obvious.
you mean like if PT was wearing a Cub shirt? Is that what you mean?
No, like more so like just something ratty looking, or just like what are you?
Like if you walk in the room with like a yellow shirt on, purple shoes, and if this is your vibe.
What if you're colorblind though?
But then I'd hope we would have that conversation.
Hopefully, like we said, you want to surround yourself with good people so they don't allow you to do that.
Right.
Well, what I have to bring this back to though is I just find ironic is that the person, and I know obviously your mom, who wasn't in real estate, but I think she was everybody's biggest cheerleader here in this room, even though I didn't know her for as many years as you guys did, that was definitely a loyal person, right? And I think that's your grandmother, I mean, she definitely instilled that in you from the beginning. I mean, you do the right thing, you treat people the right way, but on the flip side of it, I mean, you also need to take care of you, right?
No doubt. Yeah. And Brad, you mentioned something to me the other day about what you put in the world. Continue to put good stuff in the world, and eventually it'll come itself. I think that's a great way to end this. Is just thinking, the more good stuff that you put into the world, and you continue to do that over and over, it's eventually going to come back, right?
100%. Somebody once really told me, I can't remember who it was. I want to give them credit, but they said the world's like a mirror. The way that you treat others is the way that they're going to treat you. And I would agree with that if you have positive vibes and you walk into rooms and you have a smile on your face, you talk to people, you're probably going to get that in return more than likely. So I've always lived by that.
Treat people how you want to be treated.
100%.
Fist pump on that.
Boom.
Done.